Recording now. As I mentioned, we are recording and you will receive the recording and the slides after the session, so you'll have all those materials available to you. We also have a Q&A session at the end of this webinar, so please do note down your questions as we go along, and you can already start adding them to the Q&A box that you notice at the bottom of the screen. Everybody on this call is currently muted. However, once we get to that Q&A session, if you'd like to ask your question verbally, you'd like to speak to us, just raise your hand or request to speak, and we'll be able to unmute you and let you ask your question live. Taking you through the content today is myself, Naseen Watson. I'm from ChallengeWorks, one of the partners on this challenge. And I also have my amazing colleague, Dina, joining me today. And we also have Preeti from Toyota Mobility Foundation, who will be joining during the Q&A session as well. So I will just start off with our agenda, what we're going to go through. We'll do a very, very brief reintroduction to the challenge as a whole, just as a reminder. And today we'll have a lot more time for that Q&A session. So I'll just kick us off and, as I said, go through the content in a very summarized, quick way. So what is the Sustainable Cities Challenge? And the Sustainable Cities Challenge is currently being delivered through 3 different city challenges. So we have the Detroit Challenge, which is all about freight, the Venice Challenge, which is focusing on low and zero carbon modes of transport and changing behavior. And we have the Varanasi Challenge, which is all about innovating crowd flow. And today we are focusing on that Varanasi Challenge. However, if you are interested in the Detroit or the Venice challenges, feel free to go to our website, take a look, and be able to find out more information about those two. But let's start off with the Varanasi Challenge and take a look at exactly what problem we are trying to solve through this challenge. So Kashi, which is one of the older sections within Varanasi, is made up of very narrow, winding lanes, and that does make it difficult to build any new infrastructure to accommodate the influx of people. There are also vulnerable populations, including older people, people with disability, or who have mobility issues that do need to navigate the city. But considering those 2 points, Kashi does get immensely crowded, particularly in holy festivals. For example, there is the Kumbh Mela festival, which is scheduled for 2025, and the city is expecting a massive inflow of people at that time. And during these peak crowding periods, there are increased risks of stampedes and crushes as well, for example. And so you have this combination of this older infrastructure that can't really be changed because we don't want to change the look or the feel of the city, but also these vulnerable populations that need to get around. So considering those elements of the problem, we are looking for solutions that would be able to effectively manage the crowding, and while also contributing to either the enhancement or ensuring that there is preservation of that spiritual and cultural landscape and experience of the city. We are looking for solutions that could improve decision-making and empower people to move safely around the city, as well as support vulnerable groups who frequently attend these busy events. And with that in mind, we've put together a challenge statement. And our challenge statement is really our call to action to you as innovators. It articulates the challenge's aims, as well as telling you what our desired outcome is without specifying exactly what your solution should be. So because this is such an important element of this challenge, I'm actually just going to read out the statement as a whole. So we are looking for innovators to create innovative, data-driven solutions that make the crowded areas of Varanasi's old city of Kashi safer and more accessible for religious tourists, local residents, and vulnerable populations, such as elderly people or people with disabilities. Successful solutions might include tools that support the city to better manage overcrowding events, interventions that improve citizen decision-making, or services that support vulnerable groups. So those are some of the things that you could consider when you're creating your solution. I'll just take us through the overall structure of this challenge and how it's going to be run and delivered. So in the first stage, once you have submitted your entries, we're going to go through a judging and selection process, where your entries will all be judged against that challenge statement, but also against the judging criteria, which I'll take you through very briefly as well. The 10 entries that best meet that judging criteria and the overall challenge statement will be selected as semi-finalists and will each receive a grant of 50,000 US dollars each. Just a note to say that you will need to be able to sign an agreement within 1 week of receiving, of being notified. However, do take a look at our entrant handbook and you'll be able to see a draft version of that agreement. Actually, when you submit your entry, when you submit your entry, you will receive a draft version of that agreement. So you'll be able to go through it once you submit your entry. The 10 finalists will go through this period where they're able to develop their solutions, build relationships, begin to go on the ground in Varanasi and adapt your solution to the actual context as you explore it further. After that period, you will then make a second submission. And out of the 10 semi-finalists, 5 finalists will be selected to move forward to the finalist stage, where you will each receive 130,000 US dollars. And in this stage, you'll be expected to go on to demonstrate your solution, refine it, think about larger piloting and demonstration, and starting to collect evidence of the impact of your solution. And so once you go through that period, you've collected your evidence, you're able to demonstrate the effectiveness of your solution, you'll then make a final submission. And from there, we will be selecting 3 winners and up to 3 winners. And there will be a shared pot of 1.5 million US dollars that will be available for all of those winners. So all of this information, I know it's a lot, is in the entrant handbook, and you can go through it at your own leisure when you have the time. Just one thing to note is that all of the grant funding does need to be used within Varanasi for your solution, and that does include that winning amount. And we will have an academy in Varanasi, so do keep in mind that you will need to be able to travel to Varanasi in order to attend that. I'll take you through the eligibility criteria as well, and this just lays out who can actually enter the challenge. So your solution must be tailored specifically for and implemented for within Varanasi's old city of Kashi. Entrants can be a single organization, but you can also be a consortia, so you can enter as a partnership as well. If you are entering as a consortia, you do need to nominate at least one organization to be the lead entrant. And that lead entrant will be the one who contracts with the Toyota Mobility Foundation and receives funding from them as well. So do keep that in mind if you're thinking about your structure. Entrants must be a legally incorporated organization or legally established in order to enter. So if you're an individual, you would need to either find an organization to partner with or enter as an organization. Entrants must have a presence in India. So if you are entering as a partnership, at least one company needs to have a presence in India, or if you're a single organization, you do need to have a presence or a branch within India. The challenge is open to innovators worldwide. Like I mentioned, you can enter as a partnership or establish a presence in India, but your entries must be in English, as we'll be operating the challenge, at least in the administrative and in English. Successful entrants must be willing and able to travel to the city of Varanasi. As I mentioned, we have that academy you'll need to attend, but also being able to go to Varanasi, build relationships, start to pilot your solution as well, will be incredibly important. And you must be able to work with the local government. If there is any intellectual property associated with your entry, you do need to have the permission to use it, or you need to be the one who owns that intellectual property. I mentioned this judging criteria that your entries will be assessed against and scored against by the judging panel. So we have 5 key criteria here. You can, again, go to our entrant handbook, read up a little bit more on exactly what we're looking for in the entry stage, but I'll just give us a very brief overview and summary of this. So the first criteria is innovation. We are looking for solutions that are different from what has already been tried in Varanasi before and is also tailored to the unique needs of the city. And that does include taking into account creative multidisciplinary approaches to addressing this problem, because this is a problem that does require that multidisciplinary approach. Effectiveness, of course, we are looking for solutions that do have an impact, that are effective in increasing the safety and accessibility of those crowded areas. The solution does need to be data-driven. It does need to be based upon evidence. It needs to be viable. So we are looking for solutions that are future-proofed, that have this long-term plan built into them, and have that potential to potentially scale or be replicated in other contexts. So do keep in mind that you're not just delivering something and then it ends. We are looking for something that has that long-term potential. And then finally, team capacity. Do you have the resources? Do you have the skills needed in order to actually carry out your solution as you have put it forward in the entry form? For all of these elements, we understand that you probably have not started working on your solution yet, or if you have, you haven't started working on it in Varanasi, so you may not have the partnerships that you need yet. You might have a few gaps within the skills or expertise that you need. But what we're looking for at this entry stage is a plan for how you would go about filling those gaps, how you'd go about creating those partnerships. And in addition, with data, if you have data gaps right now, or you're looking for data that you can't find, you can lay out in the entry form, this is the data that I need, this is how I'm going to collect it. And that's also useful for us, so we understand how we can support you with access to data. So do keep in mind that you don't need to know everything right now, and you can lay out your assumptions for us in your entry form. With that, I'm going to hand over to my colleague Dina to take us through the how to enter section.
Hi everyone, I'm Dina, and first of all, thank you, Nasim, for taking us through the first part of this webinar. And now that you understand the challenge statement, what the challenge is about, we will go to the second part, is how to enter this challenge. So first of all, you need to remember that the deadline for this entry is Thursday, September the 5th, 2024. So we have less than a month to go. So just keep that in mind. And you need to fill an online form before the entry deadline. Before submitting, we strongly recommend and want you to understand and read the following things, which is the challenge terms and conditions, the privacy policy, the eligibility criteria, the challenge statement, and the judging criteria. And Nasim just took us through that. And if you want to read it, you want to have more details or background about that, please go read it. And if you have any questions, you can always email us or book one-to-one sessions with us. And when you want to enter the challenge, you will go into our website and you will click enter now, and it will take you into an online platform called Submittable. This is where you will submit your solution. And the form has 3 parts. First of all, you will have to do an eligibility form. You have to fill the eligibility form. And Nasim, as I said, just took us the eligibility criteria, just so please read that before you start your entry, your submission process. So it's a multiple choice form. It's very easy, straightforward. You just have to click what you think is best for you, or the answers you think are best for you. So this is the eligibility form. Second, you will be directed towards the entry form. It has 4 parts. You will be only scored and assessed against 1 part, but you have to also fill the other 3 parts. So the first part is your details. You have to give us the name of your organization, the type of organization, and background about your organization. The second part will be your solution. This is the section that you will be reviewed and scored against. And this is the part that the assessors and judges will be looking at. The first thing is you have to give us the solution title, describe your title in few words, and then you will have a section of 200 words to give us the breakdown, or the breakdown on your solution. How is it going to function? What's your plan for it? And how do you envision it? And how do you want to implement it? There is a section, an optional section, that it's you can upload a 3-minute video just talking about your solution. And it doesn't need to be a high production like video, or you don't have to go to an agency or something to do it. It can just be like a Zoom recording or a slideshow, just you talking about your solution, and then you can upload here in this video any illustrations, any pictures, any videos you want to just highlight and make us understand your solution better. But just keep in mind, this video is not a substitute for the other part where you have to describe your solution. It's just an option to help us and you understand the solution better. So again, this is the part you will be scored against. The third section is an additional information. This is just to help us understand our impact and just to do due diligence. This part you will not be assessed against, and it's a multiple choice. As you can see, you will have to give us the level of your technology readiness. Is it ready? Is it in the early stage? Is it in the middle stages of being developed? And then when do you want to your team start working on your solution? And if you have already tested your solution, please provide the brief description of what you have accomplished so far. Again, you will not be assessed against this part. You will only be assessed against the second part. The fourth part was the last one, is declaration. This is where you tell us that all the information that you have just submitted are true and correct to the best of your knowledge. And then you can either click save draft or enter. We suggest that you start as early as possible and save drafts, so you can always go back to it and modify it, and other partners from your organization can work on it. But you have to also remember to click enter before the 5th of September. And we also strongly recommend that you keep an offline draft of your submission in a Word document or other files on your laptop or whatever you're using, just as a backup, because you never know the internet and its problems. Okay, and as always, if you need us, you can always email us at the email you can see, and also Marie shared the email. It's info@Sustainable Cities Challenge. We try to respond to your questions in 2 days, and just remember the deadline for sending us question is approaching, is in the 29th of August, and we will try to answer your question after that, but we strongly recommend you send your questions before that. So if we don't have the answers for you as Challenge works, we can forward questions to the other partners or to the city, so we can get you adequate information to help you in your entry process. And you can always book on one-on-one 2 sessions with us. And as you can see, Kriti from the TMF is here with us, and she can also be on the calls with us to answer your questions. And yeah, we're here to support you, and we want to see your entries, and we're excited to see them, and good luck. So I think we will move to the last part of our webinar. Is a Q&A. If you have any questions, please raise your hand and we will unmute you. And if you have any questions, we can pop them in the Q&A section. And I can see that we already have some questions coming up. Okay. Hello, Aranio. So how much past CCTV data does the city have for the location shared in the present data? Do they have at least a few recent months for all the locations? Thank you. I think Kriti, can you go? Hi.
Yeah, you can take this question. Aranyo, thanks for your question. Generally, I think the city is able to store data for the past a few months. Very honestly, I don't think I'm able to disclose exactly how many months data, but specifically for the purposes of this challenge, you will receive a subset of this CCTV footage for specific locations that you select during the semi-finalist stage. So as you probably already know, this data, the CCTV footage is going to be very, very large in terms of capacity, in the number of, terabytes worth of data per day. It's quite large. So we will have to figure out exactly what locations you want to focus on to develop your solution first. And then when we move into implementation phase, we will have a different set of, a larger scale of data that will be shared. But to answer your question, they do definitely have several months of data that they store on their premises, and that they use on a regular basis for all of their purposes.
Thank you, Kriti. We have another question. Can the grants be used for traveling to Varanasi and reasonable persons stipends? I can take this, Naseen, and you can chime in if I missed anything. Yes, the grant can be used for traveling to Varanasi, and you can use it for like your personal expenses. And you can also give us in your resolution a breakdown of how you want to use the grant. The money, so you can give us a simple budget breakdown or as elaborate as you want it, and you make your assumptions that I will be needing, let's say, 15% of the grant money to be traveling and to my expenses and operational cost, and I would be using, let's say, the other 50% for implementation. So yes, just the simple answer is yes, and Naseen, you can chime in if I missed anything. Okay, Naseen is saying okay. Another question, what has been tried in Kashi before regarding this?
So
Kriti?
I can take that. So several interventions have been tried in Kashi, including access access restrictions, and also flow movement and other aspects. But specifically, what the city is also planning is to start a ropeway directly into the temple district. They are also looking at implementing a tourist card or one tourism card in terms of entry and exit. So these are some of the interventions that they have tried in the past and that they are planning for. However, our colleague from WRI who works most closely with the city is unable to join the webinar today. So please let us get back to you. If you could write us an email with this question, we can get back to you with a more detailed answer.
Thank you, Kriti. And as Kriti said, if just send us this question again, and we will get back to you as Vishal will answer it more elaborately. But thank you, Kriti, for that. So we have a few questions. From legal compliance perspective, will the grant amount be transferred through India-based organization or outside of India? Another question, if I can ask a question on the solution in a scenario where we suggest signage as a measure for better crowd navigation, are we also responsible to install those? Like, what is the extent of scope in terms of implementation? For crowding management, is in the final implementation, we will ideally be processing live data, right? So I guess, Kriti and Naseen, this is for you.
Maybe I could take the first one,
Yeah.
and then Preeti definitely come in.
Yeah.
So in terms of where the grant money will be coming from, so the agreement will be with the Toyota Mobility Foundation. So you can expect and probably international payments to you, but let us know if there might be any issues or concerns that you might have either here, or you can email us with any potential international transfers, and we can see if there are anything that we can do around like the contracting time. So we can definitely try to be flexible. But I'll hand over to Kriti for the questions.
Sure. Yeah, thanks. So with this scenario of signage that you had mentioned, so in terms of any implementation expenses or demonstration expenses, I think that needs to come out of the of the grant that we are giving you. So in terms of the scope of implementation, anything that falls under the development, co-creation, and implementation of your solutions, this needs to come from the grant. And the final question that you had is, we would ideally processing live data. This is something that we are still discussing with the city, mainly because this, of course, as any city authority or any city representative, we are still figuring out data sharing as well as security protocol. So at this point in time, you can be sure that you will have some experience working directly with the city with their data on their premises if possible. But in terms of live data, please let us get back to you on that.
Thank you, Kriti. Another question, can you please add the detailed previous measures in the file for everyone? Yes, we will do that, definitely. Okay, another question, can you please detail out what exactly is required in the section? Describe how you plan to ensure you will comply with any legal or regulatory requirements needed to demonstrate and test your solution in Varanasi by the final stage of the challenge. Naseem?
Yeah, I can take that. Also, just to note, I think there were a couple of people that had their hands raised,
Yeah,
but it sounds maybe they went down because your questions have been answered, but definitely raise them again if you want to come in.
yeah.
But to answer this question in terms of describing how you'll comply to the legal and regulatory requirements, so it really depends on the stage of your solution and where you're based and what you're currently doing. So if you are already working within Varanasi, or within another part of India, implementing your solution, you might already comply with some of the regulations that you need. So it could be that you're writing in there that I'm already doing this and this and this, and I have this national regulation or this regional regulation that I'm already in compliance with, and you can just let us know. Or it could be that you have a solution that probably most solutions are going to process data in some way. So just think through about what potential regulations you might need to comply with. So for example, are there any data protection regulations that you might need to comply with? And once you're selected as a semi-finalist, you could say, I might need to take a look at what the data requirements are in Varanasi and then proceed to apply for the approval to proceed, or I'm going to take these steps to ensure that I comply with whatever policies exist. If there are any environmental regulations or infrastructure related regulations that you might need to take a look at, just again depends on your solution. So just think through what are the general legal and regulatory requirements that might apply to your solution. And once you're selected as a semi-finalist, how are you going to research that to understand what the Varanasi context looks like? And then what steps might you take? So for example, it could be engaging with city representatives to understand the requirements. It might be engaging with other stakeholders who conduct similar exercises within Varanasi to understand what they've done. So it's basically a planning exercise. What will you do if you're selected? But Preeti, definitely come in if there's anything additional you'd like to say.
I think you've covered it, Naseem. Yeah.
Thank you, Naseem. Okay, another question. Can you please confirm that the organization will retain the IP of the solution even after receiving the grant and there is no joint IP transfer? I think yeah.
Oh,
Naseem.
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say the same thing, that yes, you retain the IP for your solution. It's yours, no one going to take it, and there will not be joint IP transfer, and Kriti can also chime in and confirm that. Yes.
To add.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Kriti. Okay, can a single entity develop a new partnership during the challenge if selected? So as you can see, Nateen and Kriti are shaking their heads yes. Go on, Nateen.
Oh yeah, I was just going to say yes, you can develop a new partnership. In fact, we expect most organizations, once you go into Varanasi, if you're new to Varanasi, will need to create new partnerships, either formal or informal. And there's also scope to create partnerships with the other semi-finalists if you find that your solutions are aligned and you want to come together. So that's definitely within scope.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Naseem.
I would also like to add there that if there are companies that already recognize that you have any sort of gap within your existing solutions when you're trying to customize for Varanasi, please reach out to us and let us know, if you want to collaborate with other companies that are applying for the challenge or are interested in the challenge, and let us, I'm not promising anything, but let's try and see what we can do to help you.
Thank you, Kriti. For this full-scale implementation, who pays for the ops of the solution on an ongoing basis?
I can start. So you will receive a grant, and you will be expected to use that grant for any operational expenditure, any human resourcing, any travel, anything that you basically need to be able to begin to implement your solution. So everything will be coming from you, and it will be you will be supplemented with this grant. So do consider that a grant amount when you're putting your plans together.
Okay, thank
Yes.
you, Nassim.
Or
Yeah,
that is that's for the duration of the project, and beyond that, as you know, the winners also get an implementation grant. So please remember that again, that implementation grant is also for the purpose of executing your solution and scaling it within Varanasi. So that grant amount will also be used for this purpose beyond the existing timeline of this project.
thank you, Kriti. Any advice, tips for the demo video? Okay, I think as we said, it doesn't have to be a high production video. You can just make a simple one or using any let's say Canva, Zoom, slideshows that you can demonstrate your solution. Just try to keep it under 3 minutes or under 3 minutes. Just put there the most important information or data about your solution. You can also put in the video any illustrations, demonstrations that you want to put in you want to highlight the solution. And as I just want you to remember that the video is not a substitute for the other part where you have to give a written description of your solution. The video will just help it. And it's not a requirement, it's just an optional part. And I think Nassim can chime in on this also.
Yeah, exactly what Dina said. Completely agree with everything. Just encourage you to think about what visuals could supplement your written submission, how you can support the judges and assessors to make the best decision possible. And as Dina said, that's probably not going to be the most well-produced fancy video with like music in the background. It might just be a slide deck with the most relevant like graphs or images or anything that could supplement it. So definitely think about it in that way.
Thank you, Nassim. Another question: will there be any privacy issue with the CCTV data required to use for the solution we are developing and to scale it up in the city? Will that be easily available or require some legal approval? And Kriti, that's one for you.
Yes. So as you may know, there of course there are data protection laws in India, and because of which we are unable to share any live CCTV footage with the semi-finalists at this point in time. But when we do look at larger scale implementation, we can of course work with the city to see whether you are able to get live data, as I mentioned earlier. So please let us get back to you on that. There will definitely be some amount of approval, and procedure that we will need to follow to ensure that companies that require CCTV footage, especially live CCTV footage, will have to kind of complete before you are given access to this data.
Thank you, Kriti. Another question. Thank you, Kriti, for the response on the usage of grant for full-scale implementation. However, my question was more around long-term operational costs, manpower, computation involved in maintaining the solution more from a perpetuity point of view.
Yeah, I can jump in on this. So thanks, Aranya, for that question. One of the main things, especially as a part of our eligibility criteria, is the feasibility of your solution. And when we talk about feasibility, we're talking about the feasibility of your solution as a business. So when you're developing your solution, please try and remember to also develop a strong business and a financial model, a financing model, right? Like how are you going to monetize your solution? Who are you selling your solution to? Or how are you making sure that you're making money on your solution? So please think of it that way, because the grant that we're giving you is for you to be able to customize your solution and implement it in Varanasi for this duration of this project, and for scaling up, using the grant that you get as winners. But beyond that, you do need to remember that we would like you to operate this as a business for a longer term. So you need to figure out what your income streams are going to be. Nassim, please add on if you think I've missed out on anything.
No, I think that's everything.
Okay, thank you, Nassim and Kriti. Another question. In the question where you ask how can our solution can be expanded to Asad Kashi, do you mean within India or?
I can take that. So in terms of expansion or scaling up, it could be within India or it could be beyond. So we're not telling you exactly how to scale it up. It's up to you to determine what's the best strategy for your solution. So if you think you're going to aim for just within India and scaling it to other regions, that's perfectly fine for you to aim for. If you'd like to do within India as like the medium term, long term, and then the very long term to other parts of Asia or Europe or elsewhere, you can definitely consider those different options. So it's up to you to determine what that expansion looks like for your solution and your company and what works best for you. But Kriti, definitely come in as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely what Nasseen said. One thing for you to remember here is that the government of Uttar Pradesh is already, and this is all public data, right? In public information, government of Uttar Pradesh is already looking at creating that religious circuit in the state. So remember that when we're talking about scale up, we're trying to see how your solutions can be adapted and implemented, not just in Varanasi, but also in other locations. And again, not just in India, but I think the immediate opportunity would be to look at Uttar Pradesh itself. So there are several opportunities in India and across the globe. So it could be anywhere.
Okay, thank you, Kriti and Nasseen. How do we submit additional documents to support the solution apart from the video? I can take that. You're not allowed to submit any more documents in the submittable platform. You only have to give us your solution as I explained earlier in the entry form and the video. This is the only ways to show us your solution. We're not recommending submitting any more documents because the judges and assessor will not be able to look at that. And as you move ahead and further along in the challenge, you will able to provide us with more documents, illustrations, images, graphs to highlight your solution. But for now, you cannot submit any additional documents to the entry form. Just the entry form, the part where you describe your solution and a demo video if you want to, but you're not allowed to submit any more documents. And Nasseen can chime in if I forgot anything. Thank you, Batul. Yeah, okay, good. Perfect. Thank you, Arnanio, for all the intriguing questions you have been asking us. Another question, do you know if people in Kashi currently use the governmental apps, are they open to new apps?
So with regards to apps that are currently being used in Varanasi, the usage of this is something that I need to get back to you on. But if you are thinking about developing a new app, please pitch us your solution, and we can definitely see how these can be integrated with existing apps, or whether you can operate your app as a standalone as well. But yes, please let us get back to you on the usage of existing apps within the city.
Thank you, Kriti. Another question, thanks for answering everything. What kind of enforcement does the city currently do for emergency evacuations? Do they deploy additional officers, police, etc.? Any info on relevant evacuation protocols and places to look?
Yeah, so with regard to evacuation and emergency response, I think the city is, of course, they have their police force and their healthcare and medical professionals that are, and of course, fire and other departments that are already constantly on high alert in Varanasi, considering the level of crowding that comes to the city. And in terms of disaster management protocols, I think they already have protocols that they follow within the city. Again, please have a look at the Smart City website to see if you're able to find any information on this. And if not, we can definitely see, what we can find with the city and let you know about what those protocols look like. But I would also suggest that you go through the national guidelines on disaster management protocols and see if you can align with your solution with those protocols as well.
Okay, thank you, Kriti. We have another follow-up question. Follow-up question on the app usage. Can you share with us the apps that the government are backing currently? The usage metric is something that we can get an answer later on.
Yeah, let us get back to you on this over email. I think that would be best.
Yeah, I suggest that you send us this question via email at info@sustainablecities.challenge.org, and then we can highlight that, we can forward this question when we have adequate answers for you, which we will try to do in 2 to 3 days, okay? Thank you. Okay, thanks, you're welcome. We still have more than 15 minutes to go. If you have any more questions, please write them or raise your hand and we can unmute you to ask your questions live. So yeah, we still have more time. We're just waiting for your questions. We have another question. Why have you added the GAD and land use data and person data, and why are CCTV mostly in non-residential areas? What to do for narrow lanes?
Sorry, I did not understand your, I mean, just to see
Yeah.
if I understood your question correctly. So we have selected the 2 precincts based on discussions with the city and also based on our visits to the city and trying to understand which are the areas in the city that receive a significant amount of crowding. In terms of and this data can be used for various purposes. If you're looking at urban design solutions, are you looking at analysis regarding crowd flow metrics and things like that, I think this data can definitely be useful. And in terms of the locations for the CCTV cameras, I think this information is based on what currently exists in the city. If your solution is looking at collecting CCTV footage from different other locations, please include that in your proposal. And I think that's essentially what the city is looking for, to see, what their gaps are and how they can improve, and how your solution is essentially going to support them in improving the crowd flow and crowd management in the city.
Thank you, Kurti. Another question, the CCTV locations in the data are mostly in main roads, not in the lanes, then the prediction is hard.
Yes, absolutely. I think it's the same response. So the locations that we've given you are where the CCTV cameras are currently located. And so if you need any more data that you would like to collect using, during the process of this development of this solution, please include that in your proposal, and definitely we can consider how you can collect more data and see what kind of solutions you can give us based on this information that you collect.
Thank you, Kurti. As Nassim always says in the webinars, you can put your assumptions in the solution and they will not be held against you. Build your solution against the assumptions, and as you go further ahead, we will provide you with more data and we will help you to make your assumptions as realistic as possible. Okay, can the team explain a sample solution with connected KPI, novelty, and financial sustainability? I'm seeing what, Kirti, any of you can go ahead.
Yeah, I can come in. So yes, you can within the entry form, and if you haven't had a chance to go and look at it and see how the questions are structured, it will take you through that process of putting together basically as a sample solution, your proposed solution. And I'm assuming when you say sample solution, you're talking about if I'm making these assumptions, this is the direction I'm going to go with my solution. So that's exactly what we would expect you to do. You'll also find within the entry form, in terms of KPIs, we're not asking you to set specific KPIs right now. We are asking you to think about what your evaluation plan would be, how you'd go about collecting baseline data. And then once you have the baseline data in terms of impact, you can then set specific KPIs. Whereas right now you can talk about what you might expect and what you anticipate once you enter. And then, yes, in terms of novelty, again, you can definitely explain that inside the innovation, judging criteria, and think about how your solution is different from what's going on within Varanasi right now, what's been tried before within Varanasi and in other areas, and for financial sustainability as well. So I hope I answered that question and I understood it, but let us know if there's anything that I didn't understand in that question, and definitely come in, Dina and Kriti as well.
Yeah,
think,
I don't have much to add.
yeah, I think you answered it perfectly. Okay, another question. Any pros to choosing one president over another? What are the major differences, especially when it comes to overcrowding and festivals?
Yeah, so I think this is a question that's best discussed with Vishal, very honestly. So I would request that you set up a call with us, and we'll make sure that Vishal is available to answer this question for you. Vishal from WRX, sorry.
Thank you. And if you have any problem with booking the one-on-one, please email us and I will send you the link, as Marie also shared the one-on-one booking link in the chat. Do that, and if you feel more comfortable sending that question via email, send it and we will forward it to Vishal and then he can answer you. But I strongly recommend booking a one-to-one session to speak with Kriti and Vishal face-to-face. Thank you, Nassine, but the query was directed towards a sample solution of behalf of Challenge Works team.
Yeah, I think you're asking me to give you an example of a solution. And I can talk generally about some of the options that you might have. So, for example, let's say you decide to put together an AI prediction solution. I'm not an expert in any way, shape, or form. And you're putting together your entry. I'd encourage you to think about your business model if you're talking about viability. So you could have a business to business model where your solution is directed at businesses or vendors that work within the city. It could be B2G. So you could target the government as a potential customer, or B2C, so you could target the actual users within the city as a potential customer. So it could be something that you are creating an app for the people within the precinct within Varanasi who have to navigate, and you're going to test that with them with small test groups within the precinct, and then come together. And then once you get the results, the insights from your testing, continue to improve it based on feedback. Continue to validate your specific business model if you are meeting the needs of the individual users. If it is with a government, a similar kind of process. You have your assumptions of what value you're going to provide to the government or whatever city team or entity you're going to target, and then start to engage with them, work with them, understand their needs. Is there a procurement process with them or with other city governments across India that you could go ahead? So as you can see, it's hard for me to tell you exactly what you should do or what a solution could look like. It's all about considering how you would go in and start to validate your assumptions and start to design for the customers, either the users on the ground, the other businesses, or the government that you'll be working with. But Kriti, do you have anything to add or any more specific examples that you'd like to give?
I think it depends on the solution, right? We're already talking about the fact that for Varanasi specifically to address crowding, you need multidisciplinary solutions. So when you're designing your solution based on exactly which area or which topic it belongs to, and depending on the stakeholders that you need to involve or direct your solution towards, your KPIs will definitely change. And specifically with regard to novelty, we're talking about things that haven't been tried in the city or haven't been implemented large scale in the city, or for some reason it hasn't worked, and so we need to figure out how to tweak these solutions and try and ensure that they are implemented long term. And but when we talk about financial sustainability, it is about developing that business and financial model to make sure that beyond the purview of this grant, you are able to continue to operate and continue to implement your solution, and it's not just support through the SCC grant that you're able to provide the solution. You need to make sure that you're able to bring in that money in the longer term.
Thank you,
And
Kriti. Yeah,
oh,
sorry, go on, Nasim.
I'll just add a few final words, which is this is an innovation challenge, so we're definitely not going to say that we're looking for this specific type of solution and no other solution will be considered. We're open to a wide range of different solutions, which is one of the reasons it's so hard for us to tell you what a sample solution could look like. And I would encourage you to use the judging criteria to guide you a lot in terms of what good looks like, as well as a challenge statement. And definitely do some desk research if you'd like to look at what's been done in other parts of the world that do have crowding, how they, is there anything else that anyone is doing? And then consider how that might apply to Varanasi or be adapted to Varanasi. But yeah, I hope all of our answers combined together have given you a better idea.
Thank you, Nitin and Kriti. We have another question. I think this one is for Kriti. What is Toyota's interest in solving this?
Yeah, thanks. So Toyota Mobility Foundation has been working for over 10 years now almost. And the focus of the work that we've done with TMF has been to ideally identify specific challenges that cities are facing with urban mobility. And we're trying to look at solutions to challenges such as improved safety, sustainability in terms of environmental sustainability, as well as long-term implementation, improving accessibility, both in terms of accessibility through mobility services, as well as accessibility in terms of supporting people who are differently abled, who need additional support, people from different demographic groups. So specifically for Varanasi, this is a very, very unique mobility challenge, and it's the first time that Toyota is trying to tackle this kind of a problem statement. So it is, and I think one of the key focuses in terms of TMF's work is to look at how data and technology can be the basis for majority of the solutions out there. And of course, keeping this as the basis, we can add multiple different layers to ensure that we're leveraging, multidisciplinary approaches and other solutions that are available to ensure sustainable, lasting impact, but also solutions that are adaptable, that will change with changing needs of the city, and to make sure that people are able to move around safely and access various things. It could be access to education, to healthcare, to entertainment, and others, of course. So this is the basis for Toyota's involvement in a project like this. Yeah.
Thank you, Kriti. Another question, should we consider how rickshaw tuk-tuks interact with crowds?
Yes, absolutely. So if you've been to Varanasi, or if you've seen any videos of Varanasi, you'll see that there is a lot of mixed pedestrian as well as vehicular movement, especially in the old city, where when we talk about vehicular movement, we're talking about rickshaws, e-rickshaws, hand-drawn carts, as well as two-wheelers that move along with pedestrians. So definitely when you're looking at e-rickshaws and how they interact with crowds, that would definitely be within the purview of this project. Yeah.
Thank you, Kriti. Someone else says, thank you, Kriti. You're welcome on Kifid's behalf. Okay. On the long-term implementation, important OpEx would be processing terabytes of data per data. In this case, would the government provide CPUs or GPUs for that?
I think anything beyond the scope of this project, it is that you will need to discuss with the government. So what you need to be thinking about is beyond the scope of this grant or these grants that we're talking about for the different stages of the project. How is the company going to engage with the city? So you will need to think about some sort of an agreement with the city, either financial, non-financial, that needs to be decided. And very honestly, anything beyond the time period of this project, as well as the time period for the winners grant, it's on the company, and it's between the company and the city. So this is something that you will need to take forward by yourself. Naseem, let me know if you would like to add anything on this.
I think that's everything.
Okay, thank you, Kirti, Naseem. Toyota, another question. Toyota being a global business conglomerate, can a solution come in crosshairs of conflict of interest? That's a good question. Okay, Kirti.
Okay, so Toyota Mobility Foundation is an independent entity where we're looking primarily with the vision that I had explained earlier to improve safety, sustainability, and inclusivity within the urban mobility and sustainable mobility space. And because we are an independent entity, there is no conflict of interest.
Thank you. Another question, how can WRI resources help? Yeah, Kirti can go ahead.
So the team from WRI India is of course based in various cities in India as well. They are our team who directly have contact with the city. So they will be, of course, able to help with liaison with the city, discuss any points with regard to any engagement that you would like to do with the city, any permissions that you need to get. That is one side in terms of liaison and coordination that way with the city. But they also have a team of very strong experts in mobility, sustainable mobility, public transportation, electric mobility, as well as pedestrian flows and others. So please, if you have any questions regarding, how the technicalities of mobility with regard to people flow and safety and things like that, please do share those with us, and we will pass it on to our WRI colleagues who can potentially help with answering your questions. So they are on board with us as technical experts as well.
Thank you, Kirti. And with that, we only have 1 minute remaining to the webinar. And if you didn't get enough time to form your questions or ask them, please email us. We will try our best to get back to you as soon as possible, answer your questions. And as always, you can always book one-on-one sessions with us to answer your questions. And I will be sending an email tomorrow with the recording of this webinar. So if you want to go back and look at it and like watch it again, and I will be sending the webinar slides and the links, all the important links, and the intern handbooks and all the things you need to submit a quality inquiry. And we're looking forward to seeing all your names in the entries, and good luck. Anything else you want to add, Naseem, Kirti? Really? No. Okay. Thank you, guys. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Everyone, bye.
Bye-bye.